Well, good morning, everyone. This is the koha-US cataloging special interest group, and I don't have anything in particular to bring forward, but Fred, you had mentioned a serial cataloging issue you were looking at
Well,
via email.
yes, sort of. My hospital puts out something called Center Weekly, given that it's Washington Hospital Center, and it comes out every week. And the library has been asked to keep the issues starting with, I guess, last March, sorry, through when we're starting to open up a little more, though we all have to wear masks still, of course. And I don't know if I should try to actually catalog them or just put them on the shelf. Cataloging involve, well, yeah. How do you catalog something that comes out once a week? No, it's an informal publication. No ISSN, of course.
It sounds like you might have to do some original cataloging. Something like an analytic for that run that you're keeping on that special topic.
You're talking about half the serials in my collection.
Well, that's why I thought I'd bring it up here.
It comes, as she said, it comes back doing an original cataloging entry on the title and then just stuffing them into the items. We are going through our collection box by box, and so the serials are not coming out as a group or in order, and it's just an awful lot of time wasted. Wish I had a better suggestion.
Should I catalog each one as a broadsheet, or no?
I wouldn't. I would do a again, I'd start with an analytic record that had a link, a 7XX linking field mentioning the broader serial. And then I'd be tempted to do a very brief record, just the 300, just saying volumes, actually. And then the in your linking entry field, you could mention the exact run dates, subfield G, something like March 1st, 2019 to, you could even leave it open if you're still collecting them.
I don't know. We might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I've never used a 700 or a 300.
Ah. Well, if you like, feel free to send your model record. We could take a look at it.
Okay.
Put it in the demo.
That's a great idea.
Oh. Yes, it is, unfortunately.
For those unfamiliar, George is mentioning the koha-US has a new demo catalog. Let me see if I can get a link to it. There we go. Oh, thank you, George. And this is also I think the public link.
Yeah, I was at, excuse me, I was at the Medical Library Association conference last week. That's why I didn't get a whole lot done about the demo or anything.
I hope it was a good conference.
It was.
Good. Well, I believe that Bruce, you might have a question about C references and authority records.
Yeah, I've last month I've been creating See Also records, and that's been going very smoothly, and I'm happy with that. What I'm not happy with is my inability to create a C record for topics that are just plain wrong.
So are you talking about putting a like a 450 field in your 150 authority record, or am I speaking a foreign language to you?
Foreign language, yeah, because I haven't got I haven't got the tags memorized yet.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll bring up one of our authority records. Let me get into our authority module. There aren't enough authority records yet in the demo version to use the koha-US demo yet. I put in a few. Okay, let me share my screen here. And are you seeing our koha catalog?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm going to look up something that I've been working on. So we have a topical term here for stevedore's writings American. And if we pull up the details to look at it, we see that the 150, this is the authorized heading, Stevedore Writings American. And the C from is in a 450 field, waterfront workers' writings.
Right. I'm looking at the other end of this linkage that I'm having trouble with.
How so? Is it the authorized? What headings are you trying to refer from and to?
I've got a town that changed its name, and the sources I've got are all on the old name, but people are going to be looking for the new name, and I want to say, no, go see the old name.
Okay, so I think you would be putting the old name in your 151 for a geographic term in your authority record. And then you'd be putting the new name in that same authority record in the 451.
Okay, so I do it the other end. That would explain why I can't find anything.
I have a question. Would the new name not be a separate heading and the old one go in the 551 and the new heading in the 151 to link old subject headings is in the 500s and then the new subject heading? Am I not understanding? I'm learning authority.
Yes. That's a different case where you would be using the old name and the new name in your bibliographic record. So you'd want C alsos in 5XX fields. One mnemonic to remember that in the authority record, the 4XX is a C from is for this, see that. So for unused term, we use the other term in the 100 field. For something with the old name and the new name, let me think. Say one town, say Old Town split. We had Old Town, and we've got all these records under Old Town with the subject heading Old Town, 651, Old Town. But they decided that they were going to turn into West Town and East Town because they were just so large. And so we're going to have new authority records with 151s for West Town and East Town, going forward with their high school yearbooks and their what to do magazines and their new books published under the history of West Town and East Town. But we still have all these, hello, kitty.
This is Meep.
Oh, hello, Meep. But we still have all of these bibliographic records and all of these materials in our catalog under Old Town.
Right.
So we have a 151 for Old Town with 551 saying, and we can even put in a little note saying for materials about West Town established in 2020, see also West Town, and for materials about East Town established in 2020, see also East Town, and then put in the 151 for West Town, see also Old Town, see also former name Old Town, see also former name Old Town. Does that help?
Yes.
I think so, but you keep using the phrase "see also," and I've got a situation where I need to use "see" because it's dispreferred term.
Yes, the C's for an unpreferred term are in your or in your 4XX. So say we've got let's see. Say we've
came out ugly.
I'm sorry?
I tried that and it came out way ugly.
The headings recently changed. I'm going to look something up to make sure I'm telling you correctly. Let's see. Here we go. So the heading that is used in our catalog, a subject heading, people with disabilities. All the subject headings are people with disabilities. But if somebody types in disabled people, it says see people with disabilities.
Right, that's something I need.
Okay. So people with disabilities is in the 150 in the authority record, linked to the 650s in the bibliographic record. And in the authority record, the 450 says disabled people. It's unused, unlinked. But if somebody types that in, Koha will retrieve people with disabilities.
Fine. Good. So 150, 450 pair.
Yes.
I will address this and to you next month if I screwed up.
Keep bringing those questions because there's always someone out there with the same questions. And if it would help, feel free to bring your headings that you're setting up. We could do a screen share and help brainstorm and troubleshoot. Absolutely.
Well, I'm still at the point where I'll be delighted just to get a link to a tutorial that I haven't found yet. Thank you all.
George, I think we need a tutorial.
I am not the person to do that tutorial video.
Okay,
Because
Heather,
this is
looks
all
like
just like things go like this. We don't use authorities in our system. So
Once I figure it out, maybe I'll write one.
It would be great. And
now we would be happy to have a guest come on with Christopher and I and explain how to do this, but neither Christopher nor I could do this ourselves.
And if you can explain it, you know it fairly well. So it's a good way to force yourself to learn it.
This is what I learned from many years in the front of a classroom is that the if you're going to teach it, you got to learn it.
Yep. There's going to be that kid in the back who's going to ask questions.
Teaching is the best way to learn.
It truly is. Trying to explain something, you really have to dive into something to try to understand it. And
if you're lying to yourselves, your students will catch you at it.
Ooh, brief segue. So if
were
you
you
want to,
lying to your students, Jason?
no. If you want to learn something by teaching it, a great place to do that is the koha-US conference. And proposal deadlines are tomorrow. So if you haven't put in a proposal yet and you would like to, we're still accepting them. There's the form. We could definitely use some cataloging content. The conference is going to be hybrid in format, so if you can't come in person, we're still accepting presentations virtually live and virtually pre-recorded. So we would love to have you guys present. And if you'd like more information about the conference, the website is there. So there's my plug for the day.
Nicely done.
So do we have any other questions that people would like to bring forward? Or anything clear as mud that we could go over?
Heather, I have a question. This is Allie.
Sure, Allie.
I belong to a group, and we were discussing, the topic came up of adding headings that aren't, Library of Congress headings to help, to help patrons find topics. For instance, instead of using illegal aliens, to use undocumented. And I was trained to not use anything that doesn't have a second indicator of 0, to take anything out, any subject headings that don't have the second indicator of 0. So that's what I was trying to do, and that's pretty much what I do. So I don't have none of the fast headings stay in our records. I take those out. But I thought about it, and I thought, well, because I work at a community college and I do instructional, teach instruction, do info literacy. And we had a student in one class who she said unhoused instead of homeless. And I was like, oh, that's great. She's, using a more current term, but, she's not always going to find information if that's the only term she uses. If she uses that term in addition to, like homeless, that's fine, that's great. But I thought, to be able to help them find things with these new terms, is it okay to add those subject headings but use a second indicator of 4, since it's not really Library of Congress approved. So I just didn't know if anybody else was doing that to their subject headings, was adding more topical subject headings to help their patrons or find what they need, and how that second indicator works.
We do some of that, and it's especially an issue when terms, like, we're trying to work towards using terms in our metadata that are less exclusionary. And the subject heading for illegal aliens is a great example, because at least the last time I saw the heading, the authorized Library of Congress term is illegal aliens, and the C from is undocumented. But as you mentioned, there is a balance, because if you go with a local term in your catalog, then your users might be used to that term and might not find things when they're going to WorldCat or other catalogs. One compromise that we've done in our case, in our catalog being a maritime history catalog, is that there are very specific terms that are never going to be appropriate for the general audience is we use Koha tags. Tagging is a way to do it. It's when it comes down to it, it's your catalog. You can do what you want. You could also, especially when it comes to issues of inclusionary language and diversity, make the case to the Library of Congress to revise and change the heading.
I'll take one small exception to your comments. It's not my catalog, it's my patron's catalog.
Oh, thank you, Bruce. That is a wonderful clarification,
And
I appreciate that.
One of the challenges I have is while some of our topics are very technical, a lot of our patrons are not. And there are inappropriate terms that are rife in the field. For example, one of our topics is heraldry, and coats of arms is a perfectly good term, but people will use the term crest to mean their whole achievement instead of just the crest, which is one part of it. And so we put in I'm putting in a lot of additional terms based on bad questions from our patrons. Because if they're calling something by a particular wrong name, I need to have that link in there with a C reference, which is what brought up my question today. And I appreciate those of you that are trying to hew to Library of Congress, but there's some of us in special libraries, it's just hopeless.
Also, the Library of Congress is not the speediest organization when it comes to making changes. I mean, have you ever tried to watch a super tanker do a U-turn?
It's
haven't,
not their fault that they're.
No, I mean, they're set up to do that. Yeah. If you make changes every 5 minutes without actually thinking about them.
And this is why I'm adding links rather than changing them in most cases. I have been making some revisions to prejudicial terminology, as the example you cited. The other problem I have is that we're an international collection, and LC is incredibly parochial.
Yes, I have found though that multiple thesauri used in the bibliographic record do live pretty happily in Koha. So you really can use headings with a 650 blank 4 in records with a 650 blank 0, and they will be retrievable, and you still will get some cross-references operating.
Yeah, I've not found any constraints imposed by Koha except my ignorance of it.
I know what you mean.
Can I just point out that the Senate has actually interfered in some Library of Congress subject heading discussions particularly about illegal aliens. So it's a really controversial and difficult thing to get the Library of Congress to change something, and a big fat mess. Bottom line.
Yes, it is the Library of Congress. It is not the National Library of the U.S.
Has everybody seen that film called Change the Subject?
Yes.
No.
About that particular topic. It's well worth hunting for. It's made by some students at Dartmouth. And it's exactly about their attempt to change that particular subject and what they had to go through, and it still hadn't happened.
And some students, not from Dartmouth, presented at the conference of ACRL, not last year, but the year before, about the machinations that they had to go through to try to change subject headings. So it's definitely getting some attention.
Wow, sounds like a movement.
Yeah.
This is why I like being a sole librarian. I can just say, yeah, that's to them, doing my own way.
A link to
Same
that
here.
movie is in the chat box.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That looks great.
It's also, now I referred to being trained. Well, at my hospital, we train doctors, but if they don't go outside their training, they're not going to get a whole lot done. Nothing new anyway. It's a good base to start out from.
Well, does anybody else have anything they'd like to mention, ask, comment on?
I've been working on several different projects and have come up with a list of questions that I'm hoping y'all can answer. One, I feel like I've seen it done, but I don't know how. When you're cataloging in Koha, the tabs at the top that say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 9, is there a way to edit it so that it says 1 authors, 2 publication, and 6 subjects? Is there a way to do that?
To edit the tab, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, using jQuery.
Well, George. George, this sounds like a great video to do for the terrific Every Other Thursday.
Yeah, actually, that's just what I was thinking. Let me, I'm pulling up a record and then I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Screen 2. Something like this.
Yes. Oh, I like it. Can I just copy that from yours to mine?
That's beautiful.
Let's see.
Good dear.
I'm sure that I need to put that together so that people can
Okay.
people can do something with it. It's somewhere in this code here. It's custom code. You have to add it to your system. And I'll make sure that it, if you don't know how to do that, I can help with that.
Okay.
There's my email address in the chat box, Lauren. Send me an email.
Okay.
And I can get in touch with you and give you some good instructions on how to do that.
Okay.
But yes, that would not be a bad thing for us to do a video about. So.
We have a lot of catalogers who have no experience.
So do I.
They're the HR person over the office who's in charge of the library. So I'm like, okay, the more I can make it where it's really easy. And all right, the next thing along with making it easier, when you're cataloging, there's a lot of space on the sidebars. Is there a way where I could put like notes for author? Usually, the standard is indicator 1, meaning first name, surname. So they don't have to go to a link, the little shortcut. The frequently used indicators for the 246 are, and just have the 3 that we mostly use. Is there a way to create notes in that sidebar section? Or is it just dead space?
There would be a way that you would be able to do that with jQuery, but I don't have anything like that written. And it would require, since those notes are going to kind of be personalized on a library by library basis, it would take probably a good understanding of how to do some jQuery to create and edit and add those notes. So
Okay.
Not necessarily. You could just do a sort of a template and then.
yeah, the issue is going to be, you know, I'm looking like right now, I just went back over to my catalog and I'm looking at like the 00010, and there's no good ID for that. There's no that row in the list doesn't have an ID to hook into it, so it's gonna take kind of an advanced. You're gonna have to know how to identify using CSS to identify where to put that.
It does look like if you go up a level, it does have a tag ID with the bib number, I would assume.
Yeah, so it's going to take some. It's not going to be the simplest thing to just jump. It's not going to be a beginner's project, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit of. It's going to take a little bit of knowledge to figure out how to do that. So.
All right.
So that's qualified, yes.
I just need to have someone who has time and knows jQuery to come help our library.
Well, you know, one of the actually, I know I put in to do a workshop for very, very basic something at the McKinney conference on one of the workshop days. And I don't remember if it's jQuery or SQL, but you know, if
it's SQL, George, so I'll put you down for jQuery as well. Another session.
Just not on the same day, like one on Thursday and one on Friday. And that'd be fine. I would be happy to do that. But that is the kind of thing that if you come to the conference in McKinney, or if you're online, you know, during those workshop times, that is a really good time to sit down with somebody. You know, we have I have our logo on the front in Koha, and I think I trained about like 7 or 8 people how to do that using jQuery at the Pueblo conference. We just all sat at a table and I showed them what I did and then helped them work through the things. So that's you know, a lot of people, sometimes people are intimidated by the workshop days at the conference, but that's the kind of thing that happens. So.
Yeah, as Rhonda says, those are the days when you get things done. So like,
yeah.
You bring a question like this to the conference, and then on those days we sit down and we work it out together.
And then this one I think is a jQuery question. So right now in our OPAC, the edition is there, but it's kind of real small, and I think you actually have to hit the record. It doesn't show up in the list of search results. Is there a way to like make the edition a little bit more, hello, I'm 3rd edition, and this one is 1st edition?
I think adding it to the list of results can be done with changing the XML, the
XSLT. You don't want
XSLT, which that's a question.
I would discourage.
Do you run your own Koha, or do you get support from a?
We currently do not get support. We're looking into. We finally grown big enough. We're a consortium. We finally grown big enough that we're like, okay, we're starting to run into a little bit of problems, and we're wanting to make it easier. We can't do it internally, but we don't have the money for the support. So.
Yeah, but you're at the point where it's almost going to cost as much for support as it would to hire a person to do the support in-house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I will tell you, it is possible to edit that template. Those files, you have to be very careful of what you're doing. Keep a backup copy. It's really easy to break it. And I did this about 5 years ago, and I have no idea how I did it.
Yeah,
Because it's one of those things I do every 5 years.
and those style sheets update semi-regularly when you're updating Koha. So if you're using like your own custom style sheets, then you're not getting the updates that Koha is pushing in. Speaking of advanced jQuery, you can actually use the APIs now to pull in that sort of information. So you can like go out, grab the edition, and then make it present on the search results if it's not currently there, which is a cleaner solution and extremely complicated, and I don't understand it all. But that's something that we've been talking about at the web dev special interest group. This is the kind of stuff we talk about at the web dev special interest group. Like if you have something like that where you want to jQuery something up, Lucas from Bywater leads that, but even though he's Bywater, he's contributing his knowledge to our group. So it's something that you could come and he could kind of hash out and at least explain it better than I ever could. But yeah, he did. We were talking about that to add the series information to the search results because I use custom XSLT for that. And it is possible to like query the API and drag that in. So that's an alternate option that's also probably way too complex to get into.
Well, and Christopher and I have asked Lucas if he will be a part of a future video talking about getting data from the API.
Yeah, and he does have a blog post on it. I can put that in the chat.
Yeah. So for getting it into the list of results, that would take changing the XSLT or using the API. When you're actually looking at the details of a record, I'm looking at one now that doesn't have, that does not have an addition on it, but looking at things like the ISBN and the audience, that would be pretty easy using some simple jQuery to whenever I make something bigger, I always call it embiggening. That would be a pretty easy thing to embiggen. But I don't have that off the top of my head right here on how to do that because I'm not looking at a record that has additions. So, but I'm looking for one.
Yeah, and you could probably just do that with CSS. You probably wouldn't even need to get into jQuery if it's already present on the screen. All you have to do is go in and find the ID or the class for it, and then you can apply a CSS rule to it to make it bigger, smaller, red, however you want it to stand out.
Yeah, I might have something if I can find something with an addition.
And I will say CSS is like the easiest thing I've done with Koha. It's the easiest language to learn so far. That's kind of where I started when I started customizing our OPAC and stuff, was learning CSS. And then you can use that knowledge to build your jQuery and kind of grow from there.
Other language?
Multiple other languages, yes.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with English.
Everyone has trouble with English, right?
Oh, yeah, languages are not my strength, which is rather funny because our organization recognizes 7,000 plus languages. And that's not including the computer languages. That's just languages people speak. Oh.
What are there more of? Human or computer languages?
I let people have their specialty and I just ask them to help me. Because I don't think I can learn. If I need to know, where do I start? It's like easy, 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 and then work my way on up to advanced, knowing I will probably never get there without help. Yeah, someone needs to create, okay, languages of Koha. You start at this one, and then you build your way up.
Oh, it's all written in Perl, right?
Yeah. All right, and then I have this one. I have a problem. We have an item type that when I try to delete it, it will not let me delete it. I run a report, it doesn't, nothing shows up. I do the statistics for item type and library, it doesn't show up. But I don't know why it won't delete. And the libraries that I thought used it, I downloaded their records and did a search and mark edit because I'm like, well, maybe it's just, but it doesn't appear. So unless another library used it and I didn't know about it, which is totally possible. But do y'all have any ideas what I can do to find whatever's keeping me from deleting it?
That's a tough one. I'm wondering if it could be, so you're looking at all the item records and you're looking at the, for this item type on the item records, are you also looking at the bibliographic records to see if it's in a 942 somewhere? Is that possible? I don't know if having it in a 942 prevents you from deleting it though.
It does, because I've run into this problem with another item type, but when I did a search in the item search or in the bibliographic record for that item type, a list of the records showed up. It won't do that with this one.
Lauren, you said you were downloading the library's records. Could another library be using the item type, or do you have them set per library?
No, it could be, but I don't want to download all 23 libraries to find out who the culprit is.
Yeah.
Because it could be another library. Is there a report that will show me the item type, where I could choose the item type in the 942?
What is it, 942C?
I think it's C.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a report, but it'd be pretty quick to write.
I think there is one. I think we've used it before. I do not do the reports usually for this. But let me look real quick.
Or if there's an easier way to find out the item type of the bibliographic record.
I don't know if our mappings are different than other people's, but in our co-auto mark mapping, we have the 942C mapped to the biblio-items.item type field. So you could check your mark or co-auto mark mappings to see if it's already mapped somewhere. And then you could just query that field instead of having to query the mark XML, which is what I assume George is digging up right now. Which is also a valid way to do it. It's just, for us, it's more efficient to query those things that are getting mapped, because then it doesn't have to look through the whole entire mark record.
Jason's absolutely right. I'm looking at the 942C, but that report, what you want to do is change that percent symbol, replace that percent symbol with the actual item type code that you're looking for. And that'll give you a list of every biblio in your system that has that item type in the 942C. And I just wrote some CSS that should fix your OPAC problem for the addition.
Where is the code for the addition?
Let me show you and see if it's what you want. So let me share my screen again. Hold on just a second. Okay. So this is, you guys should be seeing the essential tax guide. Have I got the right screen up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if I look at that in the OPAC, it looks like this. And if I add, well, I can add that at the bottom. I don't know why I'm scrolling all the way up. theoretically, I can add this at the bottom unless there's still some bad code in there. Yeah, that makes the addition much bigger. And I'll put that in the chat box too. Where you want to put that though is in the system preference. You want to put that in is OPAC user CSS. And all it's doing is it's pretty simple CSS. There's a, if you look at this element, the addition there is inside of this class, which is ResultsSummary dot addition. And so all of that this CSS is doing is saying, look for this class, ResultsSummary and addition together, and then change the font size. And I just set it at 150% as an example, but you could set that to whatever size works for you. And you could also, you know, I don't know what off the top of my head, I think the way to make, if you wanted to make it bold, you would add in there font dash weight,
I think, yeah.
Colon, I don't remember. You would have to look up the CSS to know exactly what to do to make it bold, but yeah, and the W3 schools has, you know, good resources for figuring out what the CSS is going to do. And that exact same CSS, if you wanted to make that stand out in the staff client, you would just do the exact same code in intranet user CSS.
Okay.
It is, for a change, it's the exact same code. Sometimes the CSS in the OPAC is slightly different than the CSS in the staff client. Lara, is it Lara or Lara, says she's about to migrate to Koha, so.
It's Lara. Lara.
Lara?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Where are you
welcome
from?
to the community.
Sierra.
Oh, I mean, where are you from?
Toro College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've just got our little test site right now that I'm playing around with. And then we're doing training next week.
Cool.
And we should be live like July 7th or something.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm very happy. I hate Sierra so much.
I usually refer to the system we were on before Koha as the system that shall not be named.
Those were the dark times.
Yeah, I don't like to say bad things about that horrible software.
It could be worse. Our previous software was called Rodney, and he died.
I never used Rodney, but I used to use Carl when I was a student at the University of Idaho.
Yeah. No,
Montgomery
Rodney
County
was my
used that for a
predecessor
while.
in office, and he had an eidetic memory. Unfortunately, we didn't have a backup.
Yeah, I refer to our previous system as one that rhymes with horizon. And Laura, I think I missed something. What are you coming from?
Oh, Toro College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the same group as the MedLibs group. You probably see me occasionally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, another.
And just so you know, I have a squirrel in my attic.
A lot of us do.
Well, I've got the chicken right here. Good, another medical library.
Yep.
We need more of us. Unfortunately, National Library of Medicine decided to go with Alma.
Well, I used to have summons. We have EDS now. I used to have summons, and summons was, oh God, it was.
Well, my library's
Does
got a-
anyone have any other questions? If not, I could just stop the recording.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're about to go thoroughly off topic.
Yes, I'm going to stop the recording.